Okay, welcome to episode 3. This is a study called Sage Family Edition.
Yeah.
It's an effort to build bridges of beautiful mental and health, wellness, ideas, concepts, and principles to our everyday life so we can grow, not just from a place of brokenness needing counseling, although I'm here with 2 wonderful therapists, Isabelle Parker and Ashley Martinis, professionally trained and degrees in all those wonderful things. And I'm a pastor.
And we're also On the Real podcasters.
That's right.
Yes.
And they have a wonderful podcast that we help produce called On the Real.
Yes.
You should totally check it out. A lot of great topics and continued partnership in your growth, which is our entire aim here. And our first 2 episodes, we talked about marriage killers. And so in this episode, we are going to help you develop language to reconcile some of those issues we talked about. And the exercise is called D.E.A.R. M.A.N.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're going to illustrate it for us today, right?
We are.
All right.
Gottman talks a little bit about things that are important to learn to build a healthy, stable relationships. So we talked last time about things that are hurting it. Now we're talking about things that are good, and conflict resolution is a huge one. So I would say before Ashley tells you what the D.E.A.R. M.A.N. represents, it's really important to know the timing, right? So in times of non-conflict, you want to use this kind of exercise.
Yeah.
The best tool you can use in a marriage is what I call adult timeouts. You don't have to call them timeouts. That can sound, degrading and stuff like that. But time to cool off, and then use this exercise. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so D.E.A.R. M.A.N. is an acronym for you to remember kind of what to do. So to go down, it's describing what it is you need, expressing how you feel about it, asking for what you want. That's the A. The R is to reinforce the other person. And then when we get into M.A.N., it's being mindful, appearing confident, and being willing to negotiate. So that seems like a lot to remember. So that's why they call it D.E.A.R. M.A.N. And maybe we could put a link up where you can find it, or you could Google it and it'll kind of break it down for you. Yeah. But it's a good starting point to effectively communicate kind of what's going on with you. So we thought it'd be cool to do an example of it. So we're going to come up with a scenario, and then Isabelle will share how she would communicate that with her spouse, or even, wherever you need to use conflict resolution.
Yeah. And actually the D can represent not just describing what you need, but actually can describe the negative behavior. So one of the things we talked about is criticism, right? And we said you can have complaints, but criticism is what becomes dysfunctional in a relationship. Yeah. So D.E.A.R. M.A.N. is an exercise where you can describe a complaint in a healthy way. So the D describes, you're wanting to describe it with non-judgment. It's a really important thing. So judgment is those criticism or those negative labels that we put on our spouse, right? And then E can be the effect that it has on me when I have that negative behavior happen in my home. Right. So you want to introduce the example we were going to use?
So the example we were going to talk about is if you felt uncomfortable, or if your spouse was maybe talking to someone of the opposite sex. Is that what we decided?
Yes.
So we want to use this example to show you how you could effectively communicate that, because if you're jealous or insecure, it can come across like, why are you talking to that girl? What's wrong with you? And maybe you want to hurt somebody. So this is a healthier way to communicate all your emotions and everything that's going on. And even like we talked in the other episodes, it might be uncomfortable to use a tool like this. Yeah. But it's healthy and research-based, and there's a reason it's out there. Right. So it's kind of push through being uncomfortable and try something new to create a new pattern in your communication.
We talked a little bit off of air about how hard some of these things are to do in relationships and how we don't always do the things, even as therapists, that we know we should be doing. And so I remember when I first learned this exercise, I literally would actually start writing it out. So I would write out the D. I would describe it is the issue that I was having, E, the effect it had on me, asserting what I need is the A, and then reinforcing our relationship. And I would write it out what I wanted to say. And it's so interesting because that literally starts creating those new pathways in our brain to start new behavior.
Very cool.
And it was hard. Like you're sitting there crying and you want to say all these horrible things, or you want to say, the criticism and the contempt. But this will retrain your brain. And then usually by the time you've written it out, you actually feel more calm. Yeah. So boundaries have been broken with person of the opposite opposite sex.
Yes.
And so the way I would describe it is I would say, is Ashley my husband today?
Hey, boo.
All right. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
So I just violated boundaries and was talking to somebody else, and you feel unsafe.
Yeah. Okay, so the other day when you were talking to
blah, blah, blah.
Jane Doe. And she touched your shoulder and was rubbing you and laughing and smiling at you. I felt really uncomfortable and vulnerable in that position. What I really would like to do is when a woman is being affectionate with you like that or talking to you in that manner, I would really like you to walk away or come be closer to me or reassure me that we're okay and you realize that boundaries were being broken. Yeah. I really care about you and want this relationship to work. I know you love me and your intent wasn't to hurt me.
Awesome.
You're so dumbfounded by that.
I am in love again. This is great.
So I don't know if you noticed. What I first do is I describe the behavior that happened.
Did you do all of Dear Man?
She just did all of them.
All 19 things?
Did you see? But I think because she's used it before, it was easy for her to kind of assert what she needed, the feeling. Kind of, she even validated her spouse in it, like you know that I love you, but I pretty much felt unsafe. So even though it seems overwhelming at first, it's cool to see like once you use it and practice it. Apparently, she just went through 8 steps, and I'm like, sure, this is great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Actually, there's only 7 steps, guys. 7. Dear Man has 7.
I counted
4, 5, 6, 7.
And the man part is actually not a step. It's how they want you to present yourself while you're doing the 4 steps.
Why is it called Dear Man?
Is it about it's an acronym. No, it's just an acronym, right? Because it fits everything they want. The dear part is what you're supposed to be doing, and the man part is how you're supposed to be doing it. I want to stay mindful what's going on with me. I want to act confident, right? Because if I come in going like, oh, you know, the other day when you're, it's not going to happen, or you hate me, or it's very hard to describe the behavior with non-judgment if I'm not in a good place. And then N is being willing to negotiate. So even though I asserted what I needed in the Dear Man, she could have easily said, well, I don't know that I can do that. I'm not sure I can come over to you and reassure you in that moment. Or, hey, this is really hard for me to do when I'm getting that kind of attention from a person of the opposite sex. It's very hard for me to walk away. Can you help me? So that's that negotiating part of going through, hey, I may not be able to give you exactly what you're asking for.
This is so significant. And I love what you said about writing it out.
Yeah.
Because in the Bible, it talks about creating a clean heart. And God doing that. But it also says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes.
And I think sometimes when you go to express an issue like this one, it comes out as a lot of mistrust, a lot of hurt, like why are you sneaking on me? Why? And you start to get into really territorial and aggressive, frustrated. I'm really hurt. And so when you go and dive into this, it allows you to see some of the things that want to flood out of your heart, or out of your heart and out of your mouth. And you go, okay, well, which part of that is real?
Which part of it's true, right? That's why you describe the behavior with non-judgment. Because usually when we're going to describe that behavior, we're going to say, you were flirting, you were doing something wrong, you like her. Those are all judgment, right? You always flirt. You're a man whore. I don't know. Sorry, Christian, but I'm just trying to repeat things I've heard.
You're a sleazy. You're all type of things.
Or the man saying that to the woman, like, what's wrong with you? You just like all this attention. So those are like huge criticisms. Instead of just really saying like, hey, when this behavior happens, this is, so if I'm watching a movie, that's how you describe it, right? As if I'm watching the movie, these are the behaviors that happen. There's no debate about that. Right? So that's how you want to describe those things. And you can use this exercise. And last time we were talking a little bit, I kept saying the trash because that's how I use this with my clients. You can use it in very like simple things like house chores and stuff like that, to all the way to infidelity or crossing boundaries and really serious issues. But Dear Man's a great exercise because it cleans out the like what's true, what's not. And so anytime you're attacking or using criticism, you just want to take that out of the D. And I do it with clients. I'll make them write out the Dear Man and we'll edit it. So I start teaching them right there, this is a judgment.
Well, so are some of them, you write it out and then you edit it and all that's there is the?
Pretty much.
So we've crossed out everything and you have the.
No, but sometimes when you do this exercise, you realize it's actually not as big of a deal as you thought. Or sometimes you realize you misinterpreted. Because the actual facts aren't really what was the problem. The problem was the impact it had on you, the trigger. So sometimes clients, after doing it and just coming to the or something very simple, they're like, oh, That's manageable. I don't
Yeah.
think I need to confront my spouse about this.
Right.
Maybe I need to apologize for reacting poorly to this situation, reinterpret it. Like, so they actually find there's action things for them to do instead.
And this exercise was meant to illustrate a tool.
Right.
Because in Marriage Killers, episode 1 and 2, a lot of the topics led us to identifying but also the need to learn new language, approach, patterns, so that it repairs some of those for killers of marriage.
Right.
Yes.
And you
this is a
talked
great
about
example.
people struggling with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so the E is talking about the effect it has on you.
Yeah.
And that's that place where you get to choose to be vulnerable, right? This is the behaviors. This is how it impacts me.
This is profound. So apply this, learn it, write this out, look up the exercise,
Dear Man.
Dear
and
Man,
begin to
yep.
do it with some of the issues or some of the things and concerns, especially in a place of any of those 4 horsemen: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, or stonewalling.
Yes.
Really identify the issue, write it out, and find a way to have new language and a new approach so that it can heal your marriage rather than create greater distance. Apply these things, and I think it'll be really, really helpful to your marriage, because we want to partner with you to grow and save it. You're amazing.